Sup, y'all? I'm still not a real YouTubist, so I don't know how to start videos. And if you know what that's reference to, then you know. But basically, this is intended to be the start of a short series of videos where I talk about various aspects of the Pokemon franchise, mostly as a game series, but also kind of to the franchise as a whole, right? And just talk about what changes I would make to it, not necessarily fixing it or making it better, because that would be pretty presumptuous. Just things that I would do if it were up to me. Like just some ideas I've had for a long time and I wanted to talk about them. Um, y'all from the Sigmarad Discord server, I've talked to this to I talked about this to you guys a couple times. Originally, I wanted to make this like a thread on Twitter, but Twitter's a little bit limiting, and then after that, I wanted to make it one big video, but I had too many things I wanted to talk about, and it would be the video. My videos are already long enough. It would be way too fucking long, especially for someone that's just starting off learning video editing. It would be a pain in the ass, right? But today I'm starting with the type system, right? Forgive me if I look over here a lot. I have notes written down on Google Docs, so I don't trail off. So I remember what the fuck I'm supposed to say. But the general idea is I don't dislike the type system, but there are a couple things that I do think should change. Like for example, well, more than just type matchups, because obviously there are some types that should be a little bit stronger, but neither here nor there. It's more like specific properties, right? Like for example, you guys know that dark types are immune to prankster, right? If you're, let's say, you're using prankster Whimsicott, you're gonna use Thunder Wave against an Yveltal that outspeeds you, right? Even if you have prankster and you use Thunder Wave, you're still gonna Yveltal's still gonna move faster than you because prankster's is negated. Dark types aren't don't let prankster proc. I'm not sure if it's just when you're targeting the dark type or when you're in a double battle and there's just any dark type there, like how lightning rod just redirects any electric attack to that point. But I just thought that was really cool, and I was like, hey, more types should have something like that, right? Here's just my initial thoughts. I wrote these down pretty quick. Some of these I've had in my head for a while. A lot of these I came up with on the spot. And these are just suggestions, right? I'm not making a fake Pokemon game, even though I talked about this with friends before, back in high school. But man, I'd love to talk about this. Make this a conversation with other people here that are fans of Pokemon. Right? Start with the types aren't in any particular order. I just wrote them down as I thought about them. So I'm going to start with the Ghost type, which is coincidentally my favorite type. Ghost types in my system would resist contact moves. First of all, not too many people know this, even though it's not like very complex but contact moves and physical moves aren't exactly the same thing. It's like most physical moves are contact moves, right? But there are a bunch of them that aren't. Like for example, Stone Edge and Earthquake aren't contact moves, but they are physical. And the way I think about it, like I don't remember which ones are which, but I do think about it as like if your Pokemon's body makes contact with the other Pokemon's body, that's a contact move. Obviously, Fire Punch, Thunder Fang, Quick Attack, that kind of stuff. That's contact, right? But then Earthquake, the enemy is being hit by a physical phenomenon, but it's not direct contact with the other Pokemon's body. So that right. Ghost types would just resist contact moves. It's not that they're not very effective, even though you could say that, but I'd rather make it so they just do less damage on average. Like for example, you know how some like I guess RNG as to how much your damage your move will be. It can low roll, it can high roll. It's just gonna low roll. Like if you hit him with a contact move, it's a ghost type, right? Physical phenomena passes through ghosts. When it comes to this change, I'm not exactly sure if I would want it to be just mono ghost types or just any ghost type at all. Like, because some ghost types are dual type, and you could kind of argue that they're more physical. It's like Frostlass. Frostlass has, you know, ice on its body, right? Phantom and its evolution, I forgot its name. Both of them are trees, right? So I'm not sure if it should be just monotypes or any ghost type, right? Including terrestrial. Then after that, any evasion altering moves have a stronger effect. Like if you raise or lower its evasiveness by one stage, the ghost type will take that by 2 stages. Right? It's like simple, but for evasion things. Then a ghost type would have a chance to lower an enemy's special defense with every attack. I'm not sure if this should be special moves or physical moves. I'm imagining probably the special moves, because you know, spooking someone, right? They're gonna be like off guard, right? Mentally, they're gonna be like off guard. Then there will be a new status condition that I thought of, which is hallucinations. Basically, it's confusion, but instead of hitting yourself with the basic physical attack, you would hit your allies with whatever move you selected. Because the whole idea is like, oh, they make you hallucinate that they are in the place where your ally is. So it's like, oh, the ghost is over there. I'll like direct my thunder over there, right? But no, that's my Polytoad that's just setting up rain dance. But does Polytoad have drizzle? I don't know. And then I have hard mode changes, which is changes that I thought would be cool, but I didn't think would be super necessary and would kind of throw off the balance a lot. When it comes to ghost types, the hard mode change would be every ghost type naturally has +1 evasion unless lowered. So basically, it's like how Zacian, or Zacian, I'll say Zacian. How Zacian has +1 attack, Zamazenta has +1 defense, right, when they come in. But then you can lower it, so it's not always +1, right? They would have that for evasion. And they're immune to critical hits. Because the way I think about critical hits is like, you know, it's an Achilles heel, right? You hit someone's weakness, you're their weak spot, and boom, massive damage for no fucking reason, because that's just where they take more damage, right? That's how I think about crits. This is gonna come in later on, right, for some other types. Next type, ice type, which is the one that needs a lot of changes. I'm not necessarily going off of the ones in Wolfie's super famous video about ice type changes, although I'd be lying if I said I'm not a little bit influenced by that. But right, here are the first changes. They resist normal bug and grass type attacks, which I don't know why the fuck they don't already, right? They only resist like ice types, right? That's fucked up, man. You gotta at least resist like the types you're super effective against, right? Right. They have a raised crit chance in hail, because the way I think about it is like, you know, if you're doing ice, if you're generating ice with your attack and you're in hail, who knows, man? There might, like, more ice might appear. Fuck. You could do this in rain too. Why not? Do it in rain for water types. I don't know. I didn't think about that when I was writing this, but why not, right? Contact moves that hit an ice type have a chance to lower the enemy's speed. And when I talked about this with a friend, right? She wasn't sure if I meant like because of the cold or because of them being like taking a little bit of freezing or something. I think it's a little bit of both. Mostly because like when you're really cold, you're not as athletic. Your physical abilities are a little bit hindered. So that's what I'm thinking about, right? But if you put that effect in hail, like hail lowers everyone's speed. Like no, that would be fucked. That would be fucked. Even worse than every ghost type having +1 evasion. Then physical ice types attacks have a chance. Like I think let's give it a 5% chance, right? All of the physical attacks have a chance to cause frostbite, which is a soft effect that does chip damage for 5 turns, right? But what I mean by soft effect is, you know how some status effects like poison, paralysis, sleep, freeze, burn, those are their own thing, where they have their own little marker on it, and you can't have another status condition overwrite that unless that one is just like taken away. But there's other ones that don't have that status, like Confusion, like Attract, like Infestation, like Curse, where there's no marker shown. They heal once you're out of battle, or you switched out, or you switch out. Um, but they're still there, and they can stack, and they can be placed on top of the more major static conditions. Frostbite would be another softer one where it's not where it doesn't, or where it stacks. It doesn't overwrite. It stacks, like Confusion. It's Fractified that does chip damage for 5 turns. It's not as much as Burn or Poison, it's just a little bit, but it just does a little bit of chip damage, right? Specifically here I wrote, every time the opponent attacks, they take a little bit of chip damage. Then every ice type attack used in Harsh Sunlight becomes a water type attack when landing. Okay, this one... Yeah, this one took a minute to explain when I wrote it down, but basically the idea is that, you know, the ice melts, but the attack is still going. So basically, in practice, what this would do is any ice type attack shot out in Harsh Sunlight by an ice type would have ice type stab, so that bonus would still happen because it's a, you know, it's an ice type attack. But when it lands, it does water type damage because, you know, it would have melted, right? So let's say you have a Frostlass against Magmar, right? In regular weather, if they use Ice Beam, it's not going to be super effective at all. It's not going to do any damage. But if it's in Harsh Sunlight, it's not only going to have stab, but it's going to be super effective because it hits Magmar for water type damage. I really like the idea of moves having kind of 2 properties, but important thing to note, they lose the ice type properties. Like, they don't have the chance to cause Frostbite. They're not super effective against Flying Dragon anymore. So just water type damage. Then the last one in the regular changes is Frostbite is inflicted when Frost type can also be inflicted when a Pokemon breaks out of freeze, but only when it's not thanks to a fire type move, because, you know, some fire type moves can break you out of freeze. If you break out normally without the fire type move, you'll get Frostbite for 5 turns. And then the hard mode change is if hit by a fire type attack, the ground becomes slippery for a short time because, you know, ice melting. This effect on the field lowers accuracy of contact moves by 1 stage. And if a fire type uses a fire type attack on it, it takes a little bit of damage because of the water from the melted ice. So right, if they survive the fire type, the stab fire type attack, the opponent will take like a little bit of chip damage. Let's say like a leftover heal, that amount of damage. They'll take that. Then I'll explain the slippery ground thing when we get to water types. So don't worry about it. For fire types, Flame Body is a passive ability, but the passive version has a very low chance. Like, instead of a 10% or 50% chance that I think Flame Body is, it's only a 5% chance, and if that does happen, it only lasts for 5 turns. Like a maximum of 5 turns and then wears off. In hard mode, I didn't have many ideas for fire type, I'm sorry. Because a lot of these also a lot of fire type changes were also covered in ice types, but hard mode, if an opponent is burned and gets hit by a fire type attack, the burn damage that they take every turn is raised. Like, you take a little bit of damage when you're burned every turn, right? But then the opponent uses flamethrower on you, it makes the flames hotter, it makes you burn more, right? So just a little bit more burn damage every turn, right? Obviously you're not going to survive for long, but for what it is, it's just a change that exists. And this effect stacks. Like, you have the more damage from the flamethrower. Then if they use flamethrower again, the burn damage raises again. Keep stacking. That's why I said it's not gonna last long, because most Pokemon ain't that tanky. Fighting types. Fighting types have a baseline higher crit chance, and unlike the Ghost type +1 evasion, which is a stat boost, this one is just a static thing. they have a higher crit chance if they're a fighting type, right? Because martial artists, they got the discipline, they know what to do, right? So I think it makes sense, right? Fighting type contact moves also have slightly more stab damage than normal. Let's say it's a 1, maybe 5% 5% more damage, more stab damage, just because again, the same thing. And also just trying to help fighting types a little bit more, because fighting types, they need some help. They take more damage from special attacks, but they have a 50% chance of resisting, like having their stats lowered. Like, for example, let's say I hit a Machamp with Growl twice. There's a chances are it's gonna resist once, but the second time it's not gonna resist, and its attack is gonna be lowered. Or both of them are gonna be resisted, and he's not gonna have any stat changes, or both of them might hit, right? But it's just a 50% chance, because mental fortitude. Again, martial artist, right? And then this one was kind of something I'm not really sure about, but they take a little bit extra damage when hitting themselves. Like in confusion, they just take extra damage from it. Hard mode change. Fighting type Pokemon have a +1 accuracy buff by default, which is a stat boost, so you can lower it. But again, martial arts, discipline, more likely for them to be able to hit reliably. So if they have Stone Edge, watch the fuck out, because it's probably going to crit you every single fucking time they hit it. Okay, Dragon type. The Dragon types have a higher crit resistance, and like fighting types, this one is a passive ability that cannot be changed. But they take double damage from any crit that does land. I do realize that this kind of makes them glass cannons, not necessarily in most cases, but when they do get hit by a crit attack, like for example, if a fighting type uses Stone Edge, they're fucked. They're pretty fucked, right? But the idea is, you know how in fairy tales, when a knight is trying to vanquish a dragon, right? They're gonna be struggling, but they find the weak spot. They stab the dragon's belly, or like inside of their mouth, and that's GG. It's one hit, and they slay the dragon, right? Or maybe 2 hits or something, right? Or they find the underbelly, just fucking cut across it, all their guts fall out. That's kind of what I'm going for. If you manage to hit that one little weak spot, they crumble. But then they also do extra damage when down to 10% HP or less, because Berserker Rage, like a dragon cornered, they start just fucking flailing around. It's like Outrage, right? Outrage as a concept, not the Pokemon move. They take extra damage from bleed, but are 50% chance of have a 50% chance of resisting a status effect. I'll explain bleed later when we get to steel types. Hard mode lowers the enemy's attack and special attack upon entering battle as a passive ability. So basically, intimidate for both attack and special attack as a passive ability. Next page. Poison type. Poison types resist and are super effective against fighting types. I don't know why the fuck this isn't a thing in game. I've always thought they should, because again, like an athlete, they have food poisoning or normal poisoning. Obviously you're not gonna do well, right? Your body's being impaired. So why not? Why not help poison type a little bit? Give it another like advantageous stat dynamic, type dynamic. Poison type attacks have a chance to lower the enemy's physical attack or physical defense. If the enemy has the bleed effect, attacks have a 50% chance of badly poisoning that enemy. Again, I'll explain bleed later. And the thing about attacks having a chance to lower physical and special defense, physical attack and physical defense is again poison impairs your physical abilities, so they have a small chance. Let's give it a 5% chance. Maybe a 10% chance, maybe. Hard mode. Every poison status inflicted by a poison type is badly poisoned. Super effective. Yeah. Every time a poison type poisons you, it's always badly poisoned. And obviously, in this case, then the only Pokemon that could normally poison you are non-poison types, unless they're using Toxic, of course. But now for Flying type, during hail, their speed is lowered, and they take extra damage from weather effects. Like they take extra damage from hail, and they take extra damage from sandstorm. I don't think there's other weather effects that actually do damage, as far as I remember. And then in contrast, their speed and accuracy are raised in harsh sunlight, and in Adult Stream, which is extremely rare, but if it happens, their crit rate is raised. Because you know what? Why not? Also, they're immune from being prevented from switching. Because the way I see it, like Ingra, well, Tropius probably has Ingrained, right? But yeah, being prevented from switching, I see it as being tied down. But a bird won't be tied down; they can just fly away, right? So, boom, they're gone. They can switch anytime. Hard mode, they have +1 evasion for specifically special moves. Because the way I see it, if you hit a special move, they can just fly off fucking anywhere, right? Like imagine like in the anime, a Pidgeotto flying around while you're trying to hit him with an ice beam. It's just fucking avoiding it, right? Avoiding the beams. Yes, theoretically, this should apply more to physical moves, but I'm doing enough to cripple. I'm doing a lot to cripple contact moves here. So I'm like, you know what? Let's throw them a bone. Let's cripple the special moves a little bit here. Electric types. I can barely see the yellow text in this white page. +1 speed by default, unless lowered. It says unless raised, but I wrote this at 2 a.m., so I'm sorry. +1 evasion in the rain, because I envisioned this with Rotom, because again, just zipping throughout water droplets. But when I talked to Dad's friend, she also mentioned, oh, it could be like thunderstorms, right? They go up into the clouds. Then, when attacking a paralyzed opponent, they have a chance to absorb this paralysis and gain charge. Because you know how charge raises your attack, raises the power of the next electric type attack, right? They have a chance to get 1 charge if they attack a paralyzed opponent, but when they get this charge, they absorb the paralysis. So they don't. So any paralysis is nullified because they absorb the electricity. But so you'd be healing your opponent you'll be healing them but they'll take the cost of having to tank a way stronger electric attack. Hard mode would be that they're super effective on Pokemon with Levitate, and they're completely resistant to having their speed lowered. Because you know it's electricity, right? What speedster in a TV show isn't like fast as fuck? What like fucking Kaminari from MHA? It's MHA. Who gives a fuck? But like Yoruichi, right? Like, come on, man. It's electricity. Next is fairy types. They're resistant to attack because, you know, why not, right? They take extra damage from being poisoned. Because, of course they do, right? Why wouldn't they? Special attacks from them have a 5% chance to confuse the enemy, because the way I see it, in folklore, fairies are tricksters, right? They're just here to confuse you, to disorient you. They're running around, right? So, special attacks, 5% chance to confuse the enemy. Fairy Wind, Dazzling Gleam, Moonblast, that kind of stuff. Hard mode. If your fairy type is not already holding an item, using any contact moves gives you a 10% chance of stealing your opponent's item. Because again, fairies are tricksters, right? Who says they can't be pickpockets too? I do realize that knockoff is a dark type attack, but I'm looking at it right now, and dark type has barely anything. Yeah, dark types, I'll just say it, +1 evasion in the night and the dark, and -1 evasion in the day. And hard mode, Unnerve is just a passive ability that every dark type has. I do realize that's not a lot. I really didn't have any ideas. I could also give dark type the fairy type hard mode thing, where they just steal items, right? but that would be a little bit unoriginal. I'm not sure about that. They could. Sorry to my boy Umbreon, but I didn't have any ideas. Water types. All special moves have a chance to make the ground slippery. This field effect lowers accuracy of contact moves for a couple of turns. And by a couple of turns, let me explain what I mean. It's kind of like sleep. It's confirmed it will last for the next turn. That's unchanging. But it has a maximum of 5 turns, and for the rest of those, and for the other 4 turns, it has a chance to wear out. Like the water dries or whatever, right? But it's a max of 5 turns. If it does end up lasting those 5 turns, it dissipates completely. And it only lowers physical attacks or contact move accuracy for like I think 1 stage or minus 0.5%. Not enough to be bad or noticeable, but enough to exist, right? Then they have a raised speed when fighting under or above water. And I'm not talking about rain, I'm talking about like, you know, when you're surfing and you fight a trainer in a wild battle, water types will just be faster, right? Because they're surfing on it, especially dive, right? You're in the water, they can swim. Of course they're going to be faster, why the fuck not? They also take extra damage from physical attacks under harsh sunlight because you know what? They're dry. You remember SpongeBob in the original SpongeBob movie when they got dry under that lamp? That. Hard mode. Special attacks have a chance to make the opponent flinch because, you know, you're drowning, right? Like if you use surf and your opponent is slower, they might have a chance to like, oh, I need to get out, or I need to breathe, right? So that's why they flinch. Grass types. This one is really short, but I'm still really happy with what I did here. They heal passively in the harsh sunlight, like leftovers, right? They have extra leftovers in the harsh sunlight because photosynthesis, right? Right? Then they also heal more from healing moves. Like if they use Moonlight, Wish, Soft Boiled. Does any grass type get soft boiled? I don't fucking know. Just Grass Terra Clefairy. But any move that heals you, you heal more. And then any berry they hold can be used twice. Because why not, right? Hard mode change. I really fucking like this one. Every special grass type move used. I'm still not sure if this should be any move by any Pokemon or any grass type move used by a grass type. I still haven't decided yet. Could go either or. You guys tell me what you think. Right? Any grass type special move has a 10% chance to set up leech seeds. It makes sense, right? It's a little bit annoying, but it makes sense, right? It sounds cool. I really like that. Bug types. They take extra damage from contact moves, but physical attacks dealt have a 10% chance to I wrote this really badly. Okay. They take extra damage when they take a physical attack. But any attacks they deal, any attacks that the bug type deals of any type, they have a 10% chance to make the opponent hit themselves in confusion if you outspeed your opponent. Because, you know, a fast bug flying around, they land on you, you're like, oh, right? That's kind of the idea. But again, only if you outspeed, because a slow bug, you're just gonna, because they can't fly away, so you don't have the urgency, right? They're also immune to Rocky Helmet, Rough Skin, and Iron Barbs, because like bugs stand fucking anywhere, right? Hard mode. They do extra damage to opponents with a status condition outside of burn, which they take damage from. Like if a bug type attacks an opponent that's burned, they'll take damage from it. You know, why not, right? But if an opponent has any other status condition, including the soft ones, so like a type, confuse, infestation, curse, hallucinations, they'll take extra damage. Psychic types. +1 special attack by default. Again, this is something that can be lowered. It's not a passive. They take extra damage from physical attacks because, strong up here, not necessarily strong down here. They're immune to confusion and having their accuracy lowered because, focus, right? Mind over matter. Hard mode, they have a higher crit rate when using special attacks because, fighting types with physical attacks and psychic types with special attacks. Every attack also has a 15% chance to confuse the opponent because if you're messing with their head, right? I do realize that fairy types also have 5% chance, but if psychic types, they're messing with your head directly, it'll be more intentional, right? So give them a bit of a higher chance, right? Plus, psychic types are already way weaker than fairy types. Just give them a little extra, give them 10% more, right? Rock types. This was another one where I barely had any ideas. Natural resistance to special attacks. So again, this is a passive. It can't be lowered. Like how ghost types are resistant to physical attacks, rock types are resistant to special attacks. Immunity to status effects outside of frostbite, curse, infestation, confusion, and attract. Wait. Okay. They're immune to any status effect that isn't frostbite, curse, infestation, or confusion. Yeah, or attract. Why make them immune to attract? Because they can breed, right? So yeah, so they're immune to poison, burn, paralysis, sleep, that kind of stuff. Wait, no. They can sleep. We don't need to give them insomnia, but they're immune to the other ones. Shield types, +1. Oh right, hard mode. Rough type is their passive ability. I mean, rough skin passive ability, because you hit like a pointy stone, you're gonna get like, yeah. Steel types. We only have 3 more types left, including this one. +1 special and physical defense by default, again, unless lowered, it's not a passive. Physical moves have a 10% chance to inflict the bleed effect. Let's talk about bleed. This lowers the enemy's crit resistance and takes a very, very small amount of chip damage every time they attack. Basically, it's like 2% of damage, maybe. Only when they do like a physical attack, because they're exerting their body. So the open wound is gonna bleed more, right? And it lowers their crit resistance because the enemies are gonna see, oh, they have an open fucking wound. I'm just gonna attack this, so they're gonna be more likely to hit a crit. Then, if a steel type is burned, using a steel type contact move would do fire type damage. So again, with the ice type thing, it would be steel stab. But since they're attacking they're using a steel type move with their steel body that's burned, it's gonna do fire damage, like a branding iron, right? That's essentially what I'm thinking about. Hard mode, immune to status moves or abilities that are psychological in nature, such as intimidate, scary face, unnerve, baby doll eyes, taunt, charm, torment, that kind of stuff. Things that mess with your head. Nah, fuck it. These are like, they're steel or robots, right? They're not gonna be vulnerable to that. Sorry, my mouth is getting dry. Ground types. Natural resistance to physical attacks. So, like ghost types, but not contact. Any physical attack. Except for earthquake. You can probably as well, like earthquake, magnitude, the other one, bulldoze. Except for those, right? Water type attacks lower their speed. Being hit by a high jump kick, even when it does land, causes the user to take recoil damage. Not all of the recoil damage they would have taken if it missed, but like half of it, right? Because they're the ground, you're hitting the ground with your high jump kick, right? Then If they use binding moves, like if a ground type uses a binding move, like usually bind, wrap, that kind of stuff, they have a higher chance to last longer. Because, self-explanatory, right? It's the ground. The hard mode, they have a higher crit resistance, and sturdy is a passive ability. Now, normal type is probably one of my favorite ones, probably top 3 along with ice and ghost, and grass. I really like grass, so top 4. But because normal types are already not really that useful as it is, and especially here, they're kind of getting fucked by everyone. So, any beneficial effect of an item held is raised by 50%. Imagine a choice item where its effect is raised by 50%. Multi-hit moves have a higher chance to hit the maximum amount of times. Imagine population bomb, but you don't need like a scope lens. Or is it wide lens? I don't know, the one that raises your accuracy, right? They're immune to frisk. Because like normal types, the idea is like humans are resourceful with tools. That's why we ultimately prevailed in evolution. So these guys are more like adept at using their items, better at hiding them, right? You can't frisk their items. If they're at 1% HP, every single attack they deal does double damage because of the indomitable human spirit, baby. Yes. In regular gameplay, so like not in PvP at all, just like in single player gameplay, if friendship is maxed, they have a way higher chance of triggering the special friendship effects, like hitting a crit, avoiding an attack, living at 1%, and shaking off a status. Because friendship, normal, human. That's essentially what I'm going for here. And then the final hard mode, any beneficial effect of an item isn't raised by 50%, it's doubled. So it's 100% raised. It's because, normal types already get enough shit. This isn't about just normal type attacks. This is all attacks used by normal types. So normal dual types would go insane. And they do double damage after they recover from a status condition for I think like 2 turns, let's say. Like it's rage. Like they recovered from this paralysis. Like what the fuck did you do to me? I'm angry. Fuck you, right? In closing, right? I didn't really think about balance that much when I did this. Obviously I had a little bit of some concerns, like obviously like I just mentioned normal types being fucked over by the game, so I'm like, hey, let's give them something good, right? The same thing with psychic types, the same thing with fighting types, right? I had concern for their usefulness, ice types too, but I did go in with the mentality of buffing everything. So there are a bunch here that are really broken, like obviously a fighting rock type. I don't know if there's any. I can't think of a fighting rock type right now. There's probably a fossil that's a fighting rock type that I don't remember right now. But them hitting Stone Edge would be nearly a one-hit KO on anything. You realize that, right? Especially if it hits Dragon type. But frankly, these are just cool ideas, right? If I'm not really that well versed in game balancing, right? I didn't go to the game design course in my uni, but this is just me spitballing ideas, right? These things I thought would be pretty cool and would make sense, right? Like, yeah, of course an ice type move would melt in the sun and turn into a water attack. Right? Of course, water type special attacks would make the ground slippery. A lot of these, don't have much. Like dark types don't have much. Rock types don't have much. Flying types don't really have too much, because I didn't really think about them mostly. A lot of these ideas I already had in mind before, like the poison ideas, ghost type ideas, ice types, electric types, not normal types, steel type ideas. I've had this for a while. A lot of those I just thought about on the spot, just so I could have something for every type, right? And another thing that I'm not sure about is how intense these effects would be for a dual type. I'm thinking monotypes would have all these effects as verbatim, but dual types would have them but lowered by 50%. They lower it by half, right? Because you have two of them. I can't think of them right now, but there's a bunch of other combinations that would probably be way too fucking broken, especially if you're combined with normal type, right? Although I'd argue, if you're combined with normal type, you should probably lose most of those normal type changes, except for maybe like the multi-hit stuff and the 1% HP thing. But yeah, that's basically my ideas. Like I said, the hard mode changes are just stuff that isn't exactly mandatory, but would be also pretty cool, but would overthrow the balancing more than it already is overthrown. Right? But again, I'm not a competitive player. I'm not really too big on balancing, or rather, I'm not really educated on game balancing, so I can't really tell you right now what the ramifications would be of these changes existing. Right? Obviously, it's not very balanced, especially the evasion stuff. But it's what I thought about, and anyone that's more educated on this, like you guys in the Simran server, the Pokemon people from Twitter, let's talk about this, right? Give me your ideas. Tell me what you think about these. And yeah, thank you for watching. See ya.